Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Let's take a look at what you might call the headlines of the headlines. Starting with The Independent, which says Jeremy Corbyn has gone to war with the head of the military after the chief of the defence staff, for it is he, questioned Mr Corbyn's stance on the nuclear deterrent. Metro has the same story as its lead. The Telegraph says General Sir Nicholas Houghton's comments were a stinging attack on Mr Corbyn. Right, Sunny Amir here. Let's begin our review with The Sun. And when one should bow and how far one should bow, Sunny. I know you have strong opinions on this subject.
I know. I can't say this because apparently it's quite rude, but if you are on social media, there's a very handy explainer of how much you should and should not bow, and every inch of it means something. So I think he falls between between unacceptable versus outright dangerous.
So he's not quite a communist then.
Oh, he may well be. But
see, The Sun has it that he just nodded. He refused to bow and he nodded. What did you make of it, Ian?
I think if you look at the angle of his neck, it looks like about 45 to 60 degrees. So probably it is a bow, but probably his neck muscles are. I don't know, Mr. I'm not his doctor, so I haven't looked at his medical report. Maybe he can't bow his head much further than that.
He might have a bad neck. Who knows?
But who knows? He might be suffering, and we should feel some sympathy for him. Maybe he should be Japanese style and go down with a card, you know.
Yes, hold his card out. Or indeed, if he were in China, maybe he could kowtow.
Yeah,
I mean, the serious point is, why does The Sun think this is a front-page lead?
Because I think clearly this is an issue. He didn't sing the national anthem. This is the next big. It was always going to be the next big step. This is a man off the left who doesn't believe that. The nuclear
and he's a Republican as well.
Republican,
yes.
who hasn't gone to see the Queen for take his Privy Council seat and all that. So this would be the historic moment to label him and get that one picture, which could be endlessly used to say Jeremy Corbyn could never become Prime Minister because he doesn't pay enough respect to Britain's war.
But is it? Do you think this is the kind of image that's going to haunt him? Because I mean, his advisors probably think they did quite well. They got him in a dark jacket. You never see Jeremy Corbyn.
He's wearing a tie.
He's got a red poppy on, not a white poppy. He's got a tie on.
He had a wreath.
One might ask, what more could he do?
I mean, really, I think it's interesting to see how far this backlash would go, and at what point will it start, stop yielding, even. You
think there'll be some sympathy for it?
I think it will reach a point. Well, it may reach a point. There's two options. It may finally lead to his, burnout, but it may well be that people just stop caring about it, or there's almost this expectation that they're going to criticize anyway, which may actually free him to do other things which we may not like.
Yes, well, it's possible, but I think this picture will be endlessly. It's a bit like Michael Foot and his duffel coat,
Which, yes, and of course, as you say, it was a duffel coat, not a donkey jacket. But history has it that it was a donkey jacket.
Yeah. But whatever it was, that picture, it's like Neil Kinnock slipping on the, those pictures, or was it David Miliband eating a banana or whatever it is?
Holding up a banana, yes. I think he never quite got as far as eating it.
Yeah, I think that was the bacon sandwich.
The bacon, or whatever.
And that was Ed Miliband with the bacon sandwich, yes. The brothers both had problems with food.
Those images become iconic images.
Yes.
But I wonder how much it will hold, because I think that there's also been a shift, because if the press were to, and these images were to yield that sort of benefit, I don't think he'd be where he is. We had a whole summer of all kinds of ridiculous stories. Now, so where will that stop? It'll be interesting to see, because I'm not sure if this is actually benefiting or harming the people who are trying it either way.
Now let's stay with Jeremy Corbyn, still with pictures of Remembrance Sunday.
Yes.
I mean, that wonderful picture on the front of The Guardian with Tony Blair framed it over Jeremy Corbyn's shoulder. Jeremy Corbyn almost looking as if he knows there's something going on behind his shoulder, doesn't quite know what it is. But it's illustrating a story, me here, that is not about Remembrance Sunday, but is about the relationship between politicians and the military.
Yes.
And politicians, of course, these two are politicians of the same party. We didn't see Tony Blair.
Not so you notice very much.
You don't see Tony Blair's hands, whether he's holding a knife there or not. And of course, the other story is Jeremy Corbyn complaining that the Chief of the Defence Staff has criticised his statement that he would never press the nuclear button. And I think, though Maria Eagle, interestingly enough, said that he could
She's
say
the shadow
it,
defence.
and she's the shadow defence secretary. But nevertheless, I think he's making a very good point here. Corbyn is the elected member, whether you like it or not. He's the Labour Party elected leader of the opposition. The Chief of the Defence Staff is not an elected official. He is not meant to take public positions in defiance or against the elected person.
But Sonny, if he thinks that the defence of the realm would be in danger if Jeremy Corbyn were to become Prime Minister, one might argue it's almost his kind of moral duty to say something, isn't it?
Well, look, it goes back again to the Civil War, right? There's a point where democracies say that the military will be under civilian control. It is the civilian elected leaders that get to talk about things. Intervention by military, serving military officials, especially the highest in the realm, is unacceptable because it undermines that basic principle. And I think Corbyn's been very smart on this. To go down this line, not of whether he's right or wrong, is there a policy decision, but to actually question that constitutional principle. It's strangely enough, I think that's been one of his smarter moves so far. I think he's bumbled. I think he's not quite gotten it right. It's been a bit shambolic, and this has actually been the first glimmer that he may be growing into the leader of opposition with all the politics that it involves.
So both of you think that on this, Jeremy Corbyn is in the right and the General is in the wrong?
Yes, and also I think listening to him on television, for the first time, Jeremy Corbyn sounded not like a backbench MP who was always rebelling and who had suddenly walked in and found he would become leader, but who had actually was leader for the first time. Now, whether he's been tutored about how to speak or how to project himself, for the first time...
You thought it was a kind of authoritative appearance.
There was some authority there, because before that, Jeremy Corbyn looked like the man who suddenly opened the door and found he was leader of the Labour Party, not knowing quite what had happened.
And I think that points to interesting things in the future.